things going through your mind of how am I going to get ahead of this guy and how am I going to pull away and how am I going to win this race?
You know, I was starting to think about Andreas Raylert on the bike. You know, we distanced ourselves from the runners, and I saw, you know, getting closer to town, you start looking at the guys in your group, you're starting to think about that marathon, and I saw Timo Brucht, Marino, and Andreas as the guys to worry about. So, and Andreas in particular, he absolutely towed me up in Frankfurt in July, made me look like an amateur, absolutely made me look stupid. So I really wanted to have a look at him, so I positioned myself behind him on the bike, and just watching him, I didn't think he looked great. But you know, you often second guess yourself because you think you're looking for a weakness that isn't there. So I was like, oh, he's out of the saddle a lot, or is he? No, or, you know. And you know, coming up about 13 miles from the bike transition, I'd made up my mind that he was not feeling great, so I attacked. And I looked back and no one responded except for Reynard Tissig, the South African. And I was like, this is bonus, this is fantastic. And so I committed from 13 miles out to try and give myself a little bit of a margin of error on Andreas. I got off the bike about 1:20 in front of him, and quick transition, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to run as hard as I can along the Leahy Drive and try and bait these guys into chasing me. You know, it's I've done this race 9 times. It was my 9th year there, and I know how difficult, if you buy into a very, very aggressive Leahy Drive, it gets very, very, very ugly out in the lava fields, and it's the patient guys that tend to capitalise in the lava fields. I ran out at 5:30 mile pace, and I remember going, oh, this is gonna hurt later. This is really gonna hurt, but they bought in. They rolled the dice because they're champions. They're there to win, and him and Marino ran the 5:30s as well. So I went past 5 miles, and it's the first opportunity I've got to see my competitors. I hadn't seen these guys since 13 miles from home on the bike. I had no idea where the run group was. Alexander and the Hennings and those sort of guys. So coming out of there, I had a split on Andreas at 1:35. I had a split on Crowe and the run group at 9 minutes. And the group I was with, I definitely noticed that Andreas, Marino, and Timo Brucht were the main players. And I knew at that point that the runners were out of the game. I just had to be cool. I went through 10 miles in about 57. Climbed Polani Hill. I was 2:20 up on Raylert. And you start the run out towards the energy lab, and this is crunch time. This is when, it's all a prelude to this point in the race. The race begins with 16 miles to go, and then I started to force it. I was running 6:15s and losing 15 seconds a mile to Andreas, and I thought, man, this is going to suck. He's going to get me. It's starting to hurt. I just kept pushing mile after mile, and I kept consistently losing 15 seconds. So at about 10 miles to go, I conceded that he was going to catch me. I had a split in 1:20. I'd lost exactly 1 minute and 4 miles. I went, okay, the guy's going to get you. Just accept that. It's going to happen. Let's relax. Take it easy. Take the nutrition in. Focus on the things you can control, and accept that he's going to catch you coming out of the energy lab. You're going to have 6 miles to run with this guy. And let's have a war. And he's got to hurt, he's human. And when you make that decision, you take the pressure off. I was like, oh, this is fantastic, okay. Accept it. So I really backed it off, and I really took my time through the aid stations, ran really slow, took the liquid in, took the coke, went into the energy lab, took my special needs, took my salt in, and really was expecting the catch coming out of the energy lab. When I got to the top of the energy lab, someone yelled 32 seconds. I was like, damn, this is fantastic, I was expecting this guy to be with me right now. Cool, I've only got to run, I was expecting to run hard for 6 miles. I only have to run hard for 5 miles. Let's relax, enjoy it until he catches you. I got to 5 miles to go and someone said 18 seconds. I'm like, cool, this is great. And at that point in the race, I say it to a lot of people, you're so you're physically and emotionally drained that any positive is fantastic. Anything that plays into your favour, you take that and you hang on to it pretty hard. So when he hadn't caught me, I was like, you beauty, this is great. With 5 miles to go, he had 18 seconds, and now I could hear the Germans. a lot of the Germans around us, and I've got the TV cameras, and I'm like, okay, the catch is going to come, but I'm starting to feel good. I'm saying, you know what, I don't feel too bad here. Like, I'm half a shot. It's not in the bag, but, you know, I'm ready to run with this guy. You know, I hear them, everyone yelling, and I started thinking, you know what, if I was Andreas, I'd want to close this gap pretty quickly. I've been chasing for 22 miles. Let's get on the destination. So I thought to myself, I'll pick it up a little bit, you know, and hopefully he doesn't get on and he blows up, or he forces his way across, you know. I'm starting to feel okay. I'm only 4 miles from home. I was prepared to hurt for 6 miles, so hurting for 4 miles is a lot easier than hurting for 6. So I picked it up, and he took a while to close this gap, and he ran onto me with exactly, just went past the 23-mile marker, and bam, there he is. And I remember thinking to myself, well, you've been running 12 seconds a mile out of me. I just picked up the pace and you just took 18 seconds. You're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay for that. Like, again, you're looking for positives. Anything, you're convincing yourself anything that's, you grab anything. Someone says, good job, thank you, I'll take that. You know, and he got on. And we ran together for a bit, and I really wanted to assert this alpha male. You know, I'm the experienced guy, you're the young buck. And so I never let him quite run up onto my shoulder. I was that annoying person you've probably all run with that runs in front of you. You know that guy? I hate that guy. And I knew he would hate that guy too. So I never quite let him run onto my shoulder. And, you know, we've been running together for about a quarter mile. And I turned to him and said, hey mate, no matter what happens, you're a champion. Best of luck. May the best person win here. And I put my hand out and he shook it. It's like, all right, game on. And again, it was a bit of a, hey man, I'm doing this easy, which I wasn't, but I wanted him to think I was. And just really assert that dominant, let's go, I'm ready to rumble, you know. And you know, as we're coming there, we've just got ridiculous amounts of people with us, and a lot of Germans. And nein sprechen Sie Deutsch, I don't speak German, so, but you know, you're picking up little pieces of German, and they were definitely on his side. And I knew sometimes you got a lot of people around you, they make you do things that you don't want to do. And I remember thinking at that point, as we're sort of turning up to Mark and Dave Hill, which is the famous hill where Mark Allen and Dave Scott were running in the '89 race, and Mark made his move to ultimately win the race. And I remember thinking, damn, this is Mark and Dave Hill. This is pretty cool. No matter what happens here, this is a good race. And I remember quickly thinking, hey, you know, focus. Don't lose your train of thought here. And I made a move on him going up the climb, and I gapped him very, very quickly, and then I really panicked because I second-guessed myself. I thought, am I making a move because that's where Mark Allen made a move on Dave Scott, or am I making a move because it's the right place to make a move? So I second-guessed and I backed it off, and I looked back, and again I had about 10 seconds on him. And then I started thinking, you know what, it took him a mile to run 10 seconds out of me before. Keep his pace on. He's got to force his way across. He's been chasing for 23 miles. He got on. Now I've gapped him again. Make him chase again. That's got to suck if you're in his position. You're not happy about that. So I kept the pace on, and of course I had everyone yelling, and they forced him to close that gap. And when he got on again, I went, phew, beauty, that had to hurt. It really had to hurt. And he took this deep breath, and no joke, he was right here, he went, and it was a breath like, I'm back on. But I sort of read it like, he's content being here. He's content. And we swung right onto Polani Hill. You have exactly 2K from the top of Polani Hill, which is, what, one mile and a quarter of running left to go. And there's an aid station, and Polani Hill's a right-hand turn, so of course we're on the inside. There's an aid station to the left, and you're on the inside because you're on the tangent. And so we cut it very, very fine, and he was looking across this way, and he yelled, Coke, water, to the aid station. Now this is the aid station for people coming up the road, it's not the aid station for people going down. And I'm thinking, dude, you're going to go for water here? Mate, you go for water, I am dead set out of here. I dare you, you know, when you're hoping they go for water, please go for water. And so I started pushing him across the road a little bit. Not when I say pushing, I started sort of moving across to the middle of the road. He's on my inside, on the left-hand side of me, because I wanted him to be really close to the people holding the cups out. Because if you grab a cup at distance, you don't lose much momentum. But if you have to come in and grab a cup close, you've got to bring your arms up to
Check this out, guys. Mac is pushing me.
Yes.
This is the highlight of my life right now, okay? I can say I got pushed by Chris Maccormack.
So I pushed him across, and there was I've never seen this lady, but I can picture her face. I'll never forget it for as long as I live, holding these 2 cups of water up. One was Coke, I think, and I'm like, please take it, please take it, please take it, please take it. The hands went up, and the minute he looked at her, I hit the gas on the outside. And that was it, though. I knew right then and there, this is my run for this title. This is the go. Don't second guess, don't look back. Don't worry about anything else. You have a mile of running to go. You've done a mile 1,000,000 times in your life. This is for every day you've been away from your kids. This is for every track session you've done since you were a kid. This is for every day you've ever hurt. This is everything. Just suffer. Come on, man. Suffer. And I was frightened. I went and I could hear the Germans again. The damn Germans. Yeah. You know, they're getting desperate and yelling and screaming, and I was like, oh man, and it's a downhill run, and you swing left on the bottom, but you got the leg speed, so you use the downhill for your leg speed, and it always hurts, as you all know. When you run off a downhill and you hit the flat, what's the first thing you feel? Is terrible. And I knew I was going to feel terrible at the bottom, but I had to stay committed, and I did. I stayed committed, and then I started cramping, and in the stomach I was cramping, and thought, oh, just forget about that, push, push, push. And I felt that I was Usain Bolt. You know, I honestly thought I was running as quick as Usain Bolt. I've seen the footage since. I definitely wasn't Usain Bolt. It was much slower than that. But I was all in. And running along that flat section there, I started to get desperate because I was really starting to cramp. I was cramping in the hip flexors, but I was too scared to slow down, too scared to look around. I was trying to hide behind the amateurs so I could get out of sight. They're obviously getting excited. Hey, let's high five. I'm like, dude, I'm in a race here. I don't know if I'll high five you at the end, but... So I'm ducking and weaving, and there's a guy on the camera, Eric, who I've known for many, many years by being on this island, and they're under strict instructions, do not talk to the athletes. And he can see the desperation in my face. And I went, Eric, where is this guy? So I was too scared to turn around, I'd trip over, right? And he looked away from the camera and he said, Macca, you know the rules, I'm not allowed to tell you that I can't see him. And he pulls up. And I was ecstatic. And we came along, we made the right-hand turn, and I still was second-guessing Eric. He's now rejoicing. I've looked back, and Andreas wasn't there. And it was like, you beauty. You know, I got to enjoy Leahy Drive is our Champs-Élysées. You know, it's our Wimbledon. In triathlon, it's hallowed turf. And as a kid growing up, I used to be running along on training runs, going, Leahy Drive, you know, and, in 2007 I was so emotional that I don't remember one step. I don't even remember turning that corner onto Leahy Drive. I was in tears, so happy. But this year I remember every step, man. I was absolutely pumped, and I enjoyed that last 600 metres along the Leahy Drive. Crossed the line, and all the people, all those experts that write for those magazines, Triathlete magazine, all of them. How do you like damn apples, mate? Yeah. And that's how I felt, and I was pumped. So, yeah, it was a good day. I'm very, very happy.
It sounds